In the beginning, there was void, and out of the void came three beings, known as the Pravashen. The sky was known as Mayata, the earth was known as Wutram, and the sea was known as Shudra. Hey guys, welcome to Creating a Mythology Episode 1. Today we are creating an Origin of the Universe myth. Now, a lot of mythologies start off the universe with an empty void that the oldest gods come out of. You can see this in Greek mythology with Gaia emerging from chaos, as well as in Aztec mythos, where one kind of split god appears out of nothing. Now, one thing I've decided to do as I go will be using different naming conventions for different generations and groups of gods and beings. For our oldest and original here, I've decided to use name combinations from Chinese and Sanskrit, as these are two of the oldest languages in the world. The three original gods are known as Pravashen, with Prava coming from the Sanskrit word Pravayas, meaning ancient, and Shen coming from the Chinese word for god, which is Shen. Now, coming together to mean ancient god. The three Pravashen are each named in a similar fashion, with Miyata being a combination of the Chinese word for nothing, Miyu, and the Sanskrit word for emptiness, Sunyata. Now, Mayata representing the void of space. Wutram, the earth, gets their name by combining the Chinese word for dirt, Wugo, and the Sanskrit word for leaf, Patram. And finally, we have my personal favorite of these names, just because I think it sounds the coolest, and that would be Shudra, the ocean. Now, Shudra's name comes from the Chinese word for water, Shui, and the Sanskrit word for ocean, Samudra. Now, an aspect of the mythology that I want to explore is a split between the earth gods and the sea gods. A division and conflict between earth gods and sea gods, and the earth and the sea as a whole, would probably come out from a culture that's dealing with flooding and rising sea levels that are threatening the culture's existence. You see, how mythology works, the attitudes and feelings of the people at certain times influence the way that they view the world. Anyway, back to the mythos. So, Mayata, Wutram, and Shudra are the only three beings in the universe, and all seems well, but Shudra is tired of sharing the world with Wutram, and hatches a plan. See, Shudra isn't powerful enough to defeat Wutram on their own, so Shudra goes to Mayata and proposes that they have a child. Mayata agrees, and they have a son named Velestis. Vil coming from the Lithuanian word Vilniet, meaning wave, and estis coming from the Latin word tempestus, meaning storm. Velestis is the god of storms and tsunamis, as well as the moon. Shudra tells Velestis to turn the land into the sea, and so Velestis starts creating tsunamis to do so. Wutram, unsurprisingly, wasn't crazy about this, so Wutram goes to Miyata and wants to have a child. Miyata, once again, agrees, and they have a son named Dionysus. Now, coming from the Latin word for harvest, Messus, and the Lithuanian word for sky, Dangus. Dionysus is the sun god, as well as the god of fertility and growth. Dionysus would dry away the water as Velestis tries to flood the land. It's through this conflict that the tides come about. And I believe that that is where I will leave it for episode 1 of the creation myth. And next time I will be exploring the war between gods that's so common in these creation myths. It's very common to see a myth where basically there's an old set of gods, and then that old set of gods is overthrown by a newer, more civilized form of gods. Again, if you go back to Greek mythology, that's where the most obvious example is, with the Titans being overthrown by the Olympians to take the role as ruling beings. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please tell me if you enjoyed this first episode and what you want to see in the future. Peace. Peace out.